welcome to American Bacon Journey. I'm Michelle, and this is
Natalie.
Yeah. And how old are you?
3.
Yeah, you're 3, huh? And today we are making a cake just for Natalie, huh?
Yay.
And what cake are we making? Is that it's called an Afro baby cake, or sometimes an Afro baby puff cake. And I think it's absolutely adorable. I showed Natalie a picture, and Natalie said, "Will you make that for me?" Yeah, is that what you want?
I'm excited.
Let's get started. Yay!
Let's start. Look at that pretty girl.
Look at that pretty girl. Yeah, she's a very pretty girl, isn't
She lives in her whole mommy.
she? Yeah. Does she have bows in her hair?
I like that one with the crown.
With the crown? Yeah. And what color dress should she have?
I don't know.
You decide. What color is her dress?
Pink.
Pink.
I want that one.
Yeah. Does she have a pretty necklace too?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at this one. Has a pretty necklace.
I
Yeah.
want that one, Puzzle.
This one?
Yes.
With the crown?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on it.
I started out frosting the cake dummies. I knew I would need a lot of height, so I used 3 cake dummies, 1 6-inch and 2 4-inch cake dummies. I frosted the cake dummies with vegan American buttercream. I cleaned up the cake board with a damp rag. Then I rolled out some white fondant and covered the 6-inch cake with it. I realized it was just a touch short on one side, so I used a fondant smoother to push the fondant in that direction. I smoothed it on with my hands and cut off the excess with the knife. And yes, the cake is slightly off center. I did that on purpose. It will make sense in a moment. Then I stacked the 2 4-inch cake dummies on top of each other and frosted them with vegan American buttercream. It was very hard to frost because the dummies are much lighter than real cake and they would just not stay put. I eventually had to put one finger in the center and hold it still. I rolled out some more white fondant and covered the tall cake with it. I placed the 4-inch cake on top of the 6-inch cake, forming one tall, flat side. See, the off-center bottom tier makes sense now. Then I marked both tiers at regular intervals. And tilting my smoother at an angle, I pressed in some diagonal lines, starting at the marks I made. I did this on both tiers. Now these lines weren't that consistent. If you need them to be perfectly lined up, I would suggest making marks along the top of the tier as well and connecting them. But since it's for my 3-year-old, this was good enough for me. I also made lines in the opposite direction diagonally to make diamond shapes. So this is the image. It is usually facing the other direction, and most of these kinds of cakes are made with an edible image, but I don't have an edible printer and I didn't feel like ordering one from a company that makes them, so I decided to make it myself out of fondant. I first made an oval-shaped background out of white fondant. This will hold the pieces of different colored fondant together. I rolled out some brown fondant and cut out the pieces of the image that are brown, the girl's legs, arm and shoulder, and face. And cut them out of the brown fondant. Then I did the same thing with pink. Sorry she's not wearing Converse. I settled on pink ballet slippers. And her dress is also pink. And some black, and cut out her hair. I glued them onto the white oval with edible glue. It looked like this. It's a start. Then I placed it onto the flat side of the cake. Moving camera perspective, I added some black food coloring to clear alcohol to make an edible paint, and using a fine paintbrush, I added some shading and details to the image. I was worried about messing up her pretty face, so I only painted it on while looking directly at the inspiration image. But that's cute. I thinned down the paint a bit to make the paint more gray than black and added some shading. I also added some shading to the shoes and some white to the eyes that wasn't thinned down at all. I painted on some edible glue to the cheeks and added some pink sanding sugar instead of painting on the rosy cheeks. Now the whole point of an Afro baby cake is that she has a very large and fluffy afro. So I rolled out some black fondant and cut out some tiny circles with a round piping tip, and using the same technique I used on a larger scale on my pink ruffled ballet cake, I will link in the card. Basically, you take the circle and fold it in half and fold it in half again. Then I stuck it onto the cake where the hair goes. I made lots of these. Now, while working on a baby's afro is an appropriate time to mention why I wanted to make this cake in the first place. I was thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement and wanted to do something. Now, I'm not the kind of person who will stand up and yell to provoke change. I provoke in a different way. I want to provoke you to see the beauty that I see when I look at a black toddler. This little girl is adorable. You heard it from my 3-year-old. She called her a pretty girl. Everything about her is beautiful. Her gorgeous curly black hair, her lovely brown skin, her expressive black eyes. And I hope that everyone who sees her sees beauty. That same beauty resides within every member of the Black community, and I hope we all see it when we look at them and we forget the fear that was once felt. But turning back to the cake, I made the exact same kind of ruffles I used in the hair out of pink fondant for the tutu. This is gold fondant. I've never worked with gold fondant before, but the one I bought was rather crumbly, so I'm not sure if I would recommend it. It is a lovely color though. But I cut out a simple crown out of the gold and placed it on the baby's head. Then I got some pearl sprinkles and stuck some white ones into a loop shape near the baby's hand. She's playing with her pearl necklace. Then I placed some gold pearl sprinkles into the places where the 2 diagonal lines on the side of the cake meet. This is a really simple way to bring some class onto a cake. But I wasn't happy with where the tiers met. I extruded a 3-sided line and placed it around the bottom of each tier. I am absolutely in love with this cake. Natalie was so excited. She just kept saying over and over again how pretty the girl is. I have to agree. A beautiful toddler in a tutu. May the future bring more equality and less fear for everyone on the planet. For more cakes and tutorials, usually much less politically charged, visit my website at AmericanBakerInGermany.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe for a new cake every week. Hit the notification bell to be the first to know when we've uploaded a new video.